Hello and welcome. In this video I'm going to show you how to use one of the PHD2 polar alignment tools called Polar Drift Alignment or PDA. PDA is the simplest of the polar alignment tools in PHD2. It doesn't require calibration and doesn't even need the mount to be connected to PHD2. It's ideal to use when you're first setting up your mount or when you just want to do a quick polar alignment check before you start your imaging session. To use it, you need to be able to see the region around the celestial pole, and your mount needs to be roughly polar aligned, say using a compass and inclinometer. You'll also need a camera that's supported by PHD2 and has a reasonable field of view. If you're using your guide camera through an off-axis guider, that's usually not suitable, but an imaging camera could be used if PHD2 supports the camera. To start out, we launch PHD2 and connect it to a defined profile. In this example, we're connecting both the camera and the mount. Having the correct focal length is important for calculating and reporting the alignment error accurately in arc minutes, so check that it is entered correctly. You can then start the camera looping with an exposure of about 1 second. This will make it easier to make the mount adjustments later. You might need to adjust the camera gain and or binning to get a good frame rate. Adjust the screen brightness so you can see the stars clearly. You'll need that when it comes to making adjustments later. Make sure the mount is unparked and tracking at sidereal rate, and make sure the scope is pointing near the celestial pole, which means a declination of close to 90 degrees. Now you can start the Polar Drift Alignment tool using the Tools menu. The PDA window will pop up, and if you've got a computer-connected mount, the hemisphere will be selected automatically. Now let's see what happens if you don't have a mount connected, or if you're using, say, an ST4 or on-camera connection. When we disconnect the mount and restart PDA, you can select the correct hemisphere from the drop-down list. This is important for the PDA calculations to work properly. Now you need to select the star from the main display. You can select the star manually, or you can use the auto-select option. Any star will do really, but try to get a bright one, which is easy to see when you're making adjustments later. Next, you can start the drift by clicking the Start button. Soon you'll see a red line emanating out from the guide star with the circle on the end. Now the circle might not be visible if it's outside your field of view. The line will move around and change length as you watch. At the same time, the status bar tells you how long you've been drifting, the amount of polar alignment error, and the angle of the red line. In time, the red line and numbers will start to stabilize. Once they've settled down, you can click the Stop button. Now you need to adjust your mount to move the guide star into the circle at the end of the red line. If the circle's outside the field of view, then adjust the star to the edge of the display along the red line and redo the drift. You don't need to be exact, but get as close as you can. After you've made your adjustments, you can rerun the drift to check your alignment. It will take longer for the line to settle as you get closer to a perfect polar alignment, but if you get anywhere within about 10 arc minutes, that's good enough for most purposes and within the limits of the PDA tool. So if you are within about 10 arc minutes, you can close PDA. Now you can do a calibration and then fine-tune your polar alignment with one of the other tools, either static polar alignment or the original drift alignment tool.